There comes a point in one's life where one has to admit they've spent too much time watching videos and not enough time making them.
The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
How pathetic is it that we're heading towards the halfway point of 2021, and I still haven't really homed in on a solution to catching up my video making capabilities with my streaming capabilities and solve this problem of phantom syllables. Well, enough's enough already. We have quite a story to tell just from cameras alone. So the Sony Handycam that I've been using for videos in the interim is basically old reliable. 1080p camera from several years ago, when I first took the wacky world of MultimediaJay to 1080p. It just works. Can't do anything with it in terms of adjustments or external microphones or anything really fancy, but in terms of it just makes videos, this thing does the trick. It was an upgrade from this standard def Handycam, which actually in some ways kind of works better than the one I've been using all this time, because if you open it up, it actually pops the lens open automatically, and closes it automatically too. Unfortunately, being stuck in standard def, the best it can do is something like this. Ooh, trick of the light, Geek House dark mode in standard def. What am I doing? I don't even have the light wand around. Misplaced it somewhere along the line. But yeah, the last thing that these standard def camcorders sold with was a ton of optical zoom before it can't even get like 2/3 of the way before it goes out of focus because it doesn't know what to look at. Yeah, That was the last way in which these standard def cameras sold before high def ones became more affordable. That does mean going from standard def to high def took me from 70 max zoom down to 30 max zoom before going digital. This new Sony, however, does 60x, while the Canon I picked up during the lockdowns only does 32x. But anyways, let's take this story back to high definition with old reliable here. So, Old Reliable was pretty fun, but after a couple of years I figured it was time to look for a successor in terms of the quality of the video and other stuff as well. During the lockdowns of 2020, I picked up this Canon, basically Vixia RF800, still available as like the 200 something dollar camcorder you can get these days. And it actually does record very, very well. And it does actually record in 60 FPS if I need it to. The problem is, it's an MP4 camcorder, and the Corel Video Studio that I use has a lot of problems with MP4s in terms of inserting phantom syllables into the audio. And so instead of editing out all those phantom syllables, I figure let's try one last Sony, because this is probably the final 1080p camcorder, might even be the final camcorder that I ever pick up, because the industry is moving on from what used to be a standard with these palm cams with, basic YouTube videos without busting out the $700 DSLRs and stuff. But I still haven't gotten a chance to test this thing out. So let's take a look at it. This is the Sony HDR-CX675 1080 camera, probably the last 1080 camera I'm going to take a look at. Has a lot of standard features, except it also supports a shoe on top for an external microphone, because it actually has a plug-in for an external microphone. Much like its forerunner, starting it up opens it up automatically, and you can have it closed, just like its old standard def counterpart, but not old reliable that I've been using for the last couple of years. Now what I find interesting about this, and I gotta test this out, this camera actually also, what's in that? It's a multi-jack and stuff, yeah, and there's a way to hook it up to charge and stuff, DC in. There's also a new type of battery. Is this some kind of way of seeing how full it is? Or is it just a hologram? I don't know. Either way, they all have interchangeable batteries, by the way, between all these old Handycams. So, either way, this thing has recording in 5.1, which I have no use for. It apparently also goes on Wi-Fi as well, so I wonder if I could transfer video footage over wirelessly without having to hook this up or something along those lines. Bottom line, I haven't gotten a chance to take this thing for a spin yet, so it's time to just try this thing out and see if it makes me want to continue with the wacky plans I had to put a camera inside a camera mount with an external microphone, or if I want to try using the built-in stuff. See, this camera records in 5.1 surround, which I have absolutely no use for, except if I downmix it to stereo, does it mean that I can have clear narration instead of sounding like I'm behind a camera? Let's test that out with this thing, and let's take this new toy for a spin. Oh man, stuttering like crazy, can barely contain my excitement. Whatever. Let's fire it up. Enough excuses. Whoa, Sony. I love how this viewfinder looks, and the lens is a little bit more wide angle than its predecessor. Oh, I hope this looks anywhere near... Well, there's two formats to play with. I gotta see if the video editor can handle both of them. So we're going to stick with AVC HD first, and then we're going to play around with this XAVC HD and see if it takes it. If you don't see any mention of XAVC HD anywhere else in this video, then it was incompatible. I also want to compare the audio filters as well for how it handles how I sound. I traditionally have problems with sounding either muddy or messed up in built-in microphones, but I'm curious if recording in 5.1 and then down mixing to stereo will give me clear narration in tech videos. But so far, I really like what I see. And this is at maximum quality, 1080p 60, which will be dropped to 30 of course, and also it is being recorded in 2-channel right now because I felt like just going all bone stock on this thing and basically recording it this way first, and then we'll see if 5.1 makes any difference, which will require me to do a pre-render on the 5.1 clip to down mix it to stereo and see how the narration sounds. Maybe we should put together a script for it or something. Alright, more fun with the new toy, and I see activity on the surround channels.
Epic fail.
I don't have any use whatsoever for surround sound unless I'm recording a 5.1 nature video or something. But one thing I am interested in, because the microphones are pointed out the back of the camera as well as in the front, it should solve a problem that I've traditionally had with tech videos, where I want the full stereo experience of, you know, the computer might make noise or something like that, or something might go on in the geek house, but being behind a camera muffles you a bit because you're behind the camera. I'm curious, if you record dialogue into the surround channels and then down mix it to stereo, does this mean you get clear dialogue regardless of whether you're in front of the camera or behind it? That would solve a long-running problem with camcorders that I've been having for years, and actually even with digital cameras back in the day. Yeah, this will solve a 15-year-old problem with this YouTube channel, going all the way back to the beginning when I first started recording videos. Well, enough of this, let's actually get some motion in here as well. I have everything on automatic too, so if we go back to full-blown dark mode, boom, how does that look? Ooh, it's turning nice and blue. I've been looking for a camera that in some way competes with the streaming webcam that I have that's very, very good in low light. And I think the automatic exposure on this might be just the ticket. Okay, let's see what this sounds like. The pre-render is finished. So first this has all been down mixed to stereo, so let the grand experiment begin. So this is in stereo mode. I'm curious if recording in 5.1 and then down mixing to stereo will give me clear narration in tech videos. But so far, I really like what I see. And this is at maximum quality, 1080. So that sounds a little deep, like they fixed the problems with the bass roll-off in the previous microphone and whatnot. Let's see, there we go. This is probably the next clip. What does this sound like in 5.1 down mixed to stereo? To down mix it to stereo and see how the narration sounds. Maybe we should put together a script for... I see activity on the surround channels. I don't have any use whatsoever for surround sound unless I'm recording a 5.1 nature video or something. But one thing I am interested in, because the microphones are pointed out the back of the camera as well as in the front, it should solve a problem. It does make the narration clearer, but at the expense of it sounds really weird, even without headphones.
Epic fail.
It's almost like my narration is going in as a form of virtual surround. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first and last time I will attempt to use 5.1 audio recording for narration of any kind with this camera. Let's switch back to stereo and just work with the built-in mic until we get a mic setup working with an external mic or something like that, because this thing does take external microphones. Sorry for your ears feeling weird, but I just had to experiment with this sort of thing. For science! And just like that, we are back in the project area, back in stereo, and back in business. Let's proceed with this little experiment, shall we? We gotta check out the XAVC format and see if the video editing software can handle it. For now, we'll record in regular AVC HD. So what am I going to do with this Canon? It's probably going to be a good B-roll camera. Unfortunately, it records in MP4, so audio will get screwed up. So we'll have to basically only use it for B-roll. It does have a nice picture to it, but I think the Sony might actually edge it out. I should square these two cameras off against each other. Very important thing with the new Sony, though. It takes micro SDs all by themselves. They don't have to be in an SD adapter anymore. So, taking a page from the smartphones now, are we? Alright, this camera's back in automatic mode, so let's go to full-on Geek House dark mode here. Yeah, I kind of misplaced. Ooh, this is what it looks like. It automatically activated low light mode. Trippy, trippy, trippy. Yeah, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Jay's Geek House project area. What happened to the light wand? I don't know. I misplaced it somewhere along the line, but I'm sure I'll find it one of these days. Until then, you're gonna have to gawk at the silhouetted Geek House dark mode. Delosaurus! What the? This thing has voice canceling? Well, that certainly won't work well for tech videos. Let's turn on the voice canceling and see what it does to me. Turning on now. This is what I sound like with the voice canceling turned on. And now I've turned the voice canceling back off. Not exactly the thing to have on a YouTuber's camcorder. At least people who still do things the old-fashioned way like I do. Unlike the geniuses out there with the $700 DSLRs and the microphones go... Oh, wait a minute. I guess I can't really talk about having extra microphones lying around now, can I? Alright, it's time for the XAVC test. And let's see if the editing software can handle it, and whether or not it looks any better than the original AVC HD format. What is this? It's jerky as all heck. Can I even get 60 frames per second out of this? No, I'm locked. I can't edit it anything. Huh. Well, maybe if I want to record movies or something at 24 frames per second. Oh man, no. Unless this looks really, really nice, which I don't see it right now doing, we will not be using this. Off to the computer to see if this even is usable. We will not be using that. Number one, you saw the video glitch, like when a Blu-ray has a smudge on it or something these days. Number two, as you saw if you were paying attention when it started, it's an MP4. It's an MP4 format, and we know that there are all those problems with MP4. Well, it was worth a shot, quite literally. We've already changed the format back to AVC HD, 60 FPS standard recording, and whatnot, and we'll just stick with this for now. We can experiment with whether or not there are phantom syllables on this funky new MP4 stuff some other time. For now, though, I have a camera to get used to here. Okay, project area time. This is what the default 60i recording looks like on this thing. It says that 60i is useful for most situations. There is no 30 FPS option on this camera anymore. There is also 24p and there's 60p as well. So let's just do some rotations around the mess that is currently in the project area, and then go full-on Geek House dark mode and see how it compensates for the low light, and how funky it makes everything look. Gotta get the ring lights set up, and also bring back the light wand for things like this. Got all these lights sitting around and things like that. But this is the standard 60 mode. What's this thing? Oh, this button on the side puts highlights in. Interesting. Alright, let's try some of the other modes that this camera has to offer and see how they differ. Here's 24p mode. Obviously, movie-like, very jerky otherwise. I think the only difference is going to be the frame rate. I don't know how much of a jello effect there is left on these cameras. Remember when cameras had CCDs instead of all these CMOS sensors? Yeah, I've just seen a frame rate difference. But I'm curious what the difference is if we fire up progressive scan mode. Let's try 60p next and see if the old DVD selling point is still valid in today's world. Here we are, 60 FPS in progressive scan mode. We'll compare the quality of all three of these. Of course, there is a format limit for YouTube, so we're going to be down mixing a lot of other stuff. I just hope that the 60 FPS mode in this sort of thing doesn't cause uncanny valley-like smoothness. I have a lot of problems at 60 FPS video on YouTube because a lot of times it looks a little too smooth. So here we go, back to GeekHouse Dark mode here at 60p and see what this looks like. See how it all looks in the low light and everything. It is activating low light mode like it's supposed to. I don't know how that jives with the 60 FPS mode or something, although it does seem to be activating the automatic motion detection or image stabilization or something along those lines. We'll see what it looks like when it's done recording, but we'll set everything back to the default after this unless 60p looks that much better. This thing is giving me a warning though that you can't actually shoot still photos or record to a DVD in 60p mode. I don't even know why it's saying recording to a DVD, because this thing doesn't have little bitty DVDs like some ancient camcorders had back in the 2000s. Alright, back to the project area to wrap things up here. So it's really too bad that the people watching this video will see the old camera's quality for the opener as well as the title screen thumbnail, because it's the last one we're going to have for this sort of thing with that camera. So we'll pick things up with the Sony doing everything next go-round, and we'll keep the Canon around for any B-roll I might want to shoot. Either way, I have plenty of choices for backup cameras should something happen to this one. Though, just some better than others. Old reliable, it had a good run, but now it's time to move on. And who knows what the future has in store. Maybe there will come a day where I'm recording with a 4K camera and just bringing everything down to 1080, unless I want to upload in 4K. You know how it goes. The new resolution will be teased, and it'll take a couple of years probably for the quality to catch up at the consumer level. But as it stands right now, I think this Sony will be just fine for the time being. And if I want to experiment with other stuff, you could hook up external microphones and headsets and stuff to it. But we'll save the fancy stuff for another day. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by. And a proper send-off for Old Reliable. Years and years of pretty awesome videos have now come to a close.